It's been 2 years since ASEAN and Myanmar agreed on the peace plan to stop the violence in the country after the military coup.
But recent clashes show that the military government has no interest in sticking to the 5-point consensus. CNA's Leong reports.
Airstrikes, destruction, death. 2 years into the coup, it's clear that violence hasn't ceased in Myanmar. These scenes are painful reminders that ASEAN's peace plan, known as the 5-point consensus, has not made any significant progress. The plan was adopted in this ASEAN building in Indonesia 2 years ago. ASEAN leaders called for a special meeting with Army Chief Leong to discuss Myanmar. There, they all agreed on 5 points to deal with the crisis. An immediate cessation of violence, allowing ASEAN to send humanitarian aid, to hold constructive dialogue with all stakeholders and allow a special envoy to facilitate the mediation. Lastly, to allow the envoy to visit Myanmar and meet all parties concerned.
What is really missing there from the 5-point consensus is the roadmap. There should be a follow-up immediately after that. If that is the case, I think the situation will be a rather different one that we are seeing now, because ASEAN has a clear roadmap.
The idea of a roadmap did eventually surface, but only in November last year. The bloc's leaders decided at the ASEAN Summit that there needs to be a plan with a clear timeline and concrete outcomes to support the 5-point consensus.
This plan is very important for ASEAN, in particular the chair, as a guidance to address this situation in Myanmar in a united manner.
But so far, there are no details on the progress of this implementation plan. Months after the coup in late 2021, the bloc's leaders made an unprecedented move and banned the Myanmar army from attending ASEAN meetings. Still, ASEAN is slammed for being inefficient and not taking enough action on Myanmar.
I think ASEAN has done pretty much a lot on Myanmar in terms of even bending its non-interference principle to that extent. So I would say that there have been actions, but again, within those bounds of the limitations of what ASEAN is as an intergovernmental organization, ASEAN has never held with sanctions. ASEAN does not put boots on the ground because that is not part of the what ASEAN's commitments are in the ASEAN Charter.
For now, ASEAN will stick to the 5-point peace plan when dealing with the Myanmar crisis. But it's also clear that the Myanmar army has no interest in meeting the consensus commitments. All eyes will now be on the upcoming ASEAN Summit in May and whether the Southeast Asian leaders will revamp their responses and convince Myanmar to honor the 5-point consensus. Leong, CNA.